The federal government says the proposed tax reform bills before the National Assembly are not targeted at undermining any region, but to enhance efficiency and increase revenue for states based on consumption patterns. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, made the clarification at an interactive session organized by the House of Representatives on the proposed reforms. Tunji Olanipekun, Arise News correspondent, reports.
The proposed tax reform bills before the National Assembly is one bill that is generating interest across the country, with different regions guarding their interest in the bills. Recently, the National Economic Council urged President Bola Tinubu to withdraw the controversial tax reform bills for further consultation. Here, the driver of the initiative, who is the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, gives more insight into the bills. He said the bill seeks to update tax laws, streamline administration, and create new legal frameworks for taxation in the country. Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, also assures lawmakers that the reforms will ensure quality and fairness in revenue distribution among the three tiers of government.
Section 40 of the Value Added Tax Act today, it says that when we collect VAT, the federal government should take 15%, the state should take 50%, and local government should take 35%. The amount that is to the credit of states and local government should be shared as follows: 20% based on derivation, which is where you got the VAT from. Give them 20% of the VAT. The remaining 80%, 50% is shared on equal basis. And then 30% is shared based on population. That's what we do today. That method of sharing VAT has problems.
The leadership of the Green Chambers says the House has not taken any stand on the bills, but will scrutinize the content and make necessary amendments.
The House has not taken any definitive position on these bills. Our role is to scrutinize them thoroughly, ensuring they align with the best interests of our constituents and the nation at large. We owe this duty to Nigeria.
We expect more insight into how tax reforms incentivize digital economy, how it supports small businesses and low-income households, and more importantly, how the zero-rated value-added tax works or should work. In simple terms, what mischief do we intend to cure? What is the existing tax regime? And where do we want to go from here?
Meanwhile, the leader of the Northern Region Caucus in the House of Representatives, Al-Hassan Adodogwa, says lawmakers from the North will allow national interest to take precedence in the consideration of the 4 tax reform bills.
This consultation has to be work in progress. We will pick it up from here, go down into other smaller legislative groupings, consult our people at caucus levels, at regional and state levels, to let people begin to understand what actually is the import of the laws themselves. Because whether you like it or not, these are laws that unfortunately have been predicated on the other side of the coin, which of course may not augur well for our people. So what we want to now say on behalf of the caucus is that we as leaders of the Northern Caucus will build on the initiative of the leadership of the National Assembly, which of course is by way of promoting interaction, consultations, widen the scope of enlightenment among our people.
Caucus leader commend the leadership of the House for organizing the interaction, saying it has broadened the understanding of the lawmakers on the bills. Tunji Olanipekun, Arise News.
Joining us now is Honorable Philip Agbese, Deputy Spokesperson of the House of Representatives. Honorable Agbese, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Well, 2 quick things. I would like to have your own account of the interaction with the leadership of the Tax and Fiscal Committee led by Oyedele. That's one. And 2, your point that some governors are blackmailing members of the House of Representatives and saying they will not get a second-term ticket if they support President Tinubu and his tax and fiscal policy committee on this particular issue of reforms in terms of tax. Is your own governor threatening you? And who are those governors that have been threatening people? I think we should call them out. You made that claim. Stand by your claim and mention those governors specifically who are threatening members of the House of Representatives.
Thank you very much. Yesterday, we had a very robust engagement in line with the legislative agenda of the 10th House of Representatives under the leadership of His Excellency, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, PhD, GSON, and it was quite an engaging and intellectually, it was a very sound engagement. The chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, was also there, and the key driver of the presidential reform on the tax reform was also the Wedele. And again, another angle to it, the House of Representatives under the leadership of His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas equally engage its own experts, on tax issues. So what we had yesterday was a robust engagement between the key drivers from the executive, our in-house experts who also share their views with us. And before now, because this issue has brought some level of contentions in the sense that some political leaders across the country, across the various regions, have expressed misgivings about it. So it was in the wisdom of His Excellency the Speaker that we look at it holistically. And what happened yesterday, after listening to Zach Adedeji, Taiwo Oyedele, and our in-house experts, 4 of them spoke at the event yesterday. They equally subscribe to some of the lofty ideas shared in the bills before us. I think as a matter of consensus, we got to a point where lawmakers express satisfaction with the interactive section. And like Mr. Speaker has said, that the House has not taken any decision as far as these bills before the Parliament is concerned. We are going to debate it on the floor of the House. But what we have done yesterday is to, give members, the opportunity to be able to crisscross the content of the bill, generally for everyone to participate. Before yesterday, the leadership of the House had printed and distributed copies of the bill to every member of the House of Representatives for them to take a look at it. And I think quite a lot was done before yesterday. So yesterday, basically, people came to members asked questions, and they were given satisfactory answers. One, the issue of attribution. Some states have been very concerned about, attribution. The other one is the issue of distribution. And the other one is also, just like one of my colleagues raised the issue yesterday, Honorable Babajimi Bensi, because from the explanation given to us by Zach Adedeji and what we have confirmed through from our internal experts, is that just 3 states get about 70% of the tax every month: Lagos, Rivers, and FCT. They get over 70% of what we generate as a country, and the remaining states are left with the rest. So by doing so, some states are actually going to lose a large chunk of what they used to get, and this will now go back to other states. So from what we have seen so far, as one who communicates the mind, the spirit, the body, and the soul of the Parliament, as the Oracle of the House, I can tell you that members were actually very satisfied. Now to the second question you asked, which is about the issue of the governors talking to us. Yes, of course, some governors have had meetings with caucus leaders from their various states before yesterday, and but that is just, by the way, is political, and we are politicians, so of course there are means of lobbying, engaging members, and all of that. It wasn't a sort of threat where somebody points a gun at another person, but of course, as a parliament, we are looking at the national interest. The leader of the Northern Caucus has said that members of the Northern Caucus are going to go into a smaller grouping to further dissect, to follow the lead of what Mr. Speaker has established, that members should consult further. So that's exactly what we're doing. So the issue of the governor governor is just by the side. We are here as Nigerians, to work for our people. And the opinion, of course, as responsible politicians, the opinion of our leaders will always matter. We will consult them. But nevertheless, we are also here on our own as intellectuals, people who are also very sound, to look at issues the way we feel, will benefit our constituents. And that's exactly what we are doing.
All right. Well, what we know is that this issue is hugely divided between northern and southern lines. Of course, you've already spoken about the Northern Caucus going to go away and have smaller discussions amongst themselves. But my question is, how do you overcome the concerns that are being raised by the Northern Caucus and the traditional rulers from the north who are saying that, listen, our state, our communities are riddled with insecurity. We have internally displaced persons and so forth. There's no way that this, parts of this bill, specifically the derivation part of this bill, can favor us. How do you overcome that?
Yes, that issue was also raised by parliamentarians from some of these geographical locations yesterday during the plenary. And the experts, our in-house experts and those from outside, having dissected the document before us, the 4 bills, yes, they gave a very reasonable answer to that. And to that extent, it was considered, it is in the spirit of the bills before the parliament today, that the states that are not able, that states that are not viable, because there's also a window period for this reform to take full root, that within the window period, states that are not viable, states that are not generating, or states that are not contributing as a result of one problem or the other, insecurity and so on and so forth. Also, there is a window, there's something that is in the bill for them. So I don't think it is anything for anyone to fear. And the tension before yesterday's interactive session, in line with the wisdom of His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, has actually done quite a lot, to the questions that were being asked before now. Today, like I said earlier, I communicate the spirit of the Parliament to the public. And I can categorically tell you that, yes, as at yesterday, before we left the Parliament, many members from some of these regions who are scared, they have their questions answered. And even those from some other parts of the country that expressed fear before now that they were going to lose the land chalk, which, of course, this issue of headquarter taxes and all of that, they've also been able to allay their fears that they won't be losing so much. It's just a question of, parity. And I recall that Zach Adedijis mentioned something yesterday, that when he sees that out of the 36 states plus the Federal Capital Territory, that just about 3 or 4 states get away with 70% of the total tax of the country every month. He feels very bad. That grieves him. And that statement was a very patriotic one, in the sense that members now understood from yesterday's engagement that the tax reform bills sent to the Parliament by Mr. President is not about any region. It is a patriotic decision by Mr. President to ensure that every Nigerian, gets value from whatever they contribute to the national purse. And at the end of the day, we as a parliament, we are equally concerned, not just about the bills, but the implementation of the bill. And you give it to the 10th House of Representatives under the leadership of His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, that when we pass bills and these bills become law, we equally follow to ensure the implementation. So I think before now, some of our leaders who had expressed their opinion about this document did not do exactly what the 10th House of Representatives has done by engaging experts, engaging the promoters of the bill to come before them and further explain. I believe that if our governors, if our traditional rulers, either from the north or the south, will all come together, with a patriotic mindset, because the issue, one of the problems we have as a country today, which the 10th House of Representatives under the leadership of His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas is dealing with, is also the issue of a trust deficit, in the sense that politicians don't trust themselves. Those from the north don't trust those from the south, vice versa. But in the 10th House already, what we are doing, we have 8 political parties, and we are dealing with bills that have to do with the country as a whole. So first and foremost, patriotism is the key word. We follow the lead of the leader of the House, which is, how do we do, what are the patriotic issues that have to be addressed? So once it comes to passing bills before this 10th House of Representatives, the first thing we do is to first drop your political affiliation, drop your ethnic affiliation, and wear a new garment, which is the garment of patriotism as symbolized by the leadership of the House. And when you deal with issues patriotically, you do exactly what we did yesterday by inviting experts, who come talk to you, dissect the bills, tell you, the pros and cons. And if we do that, you agree with me that at the end of the day, we'll be passing bills and legislations that will better the lot of this nation as a country, not our individual or regional interests.
Okay, so there's been loggerheads between both parties. Some states don't want to feel done over, and this tax regime as regards VAT by Mr. Taiwo, this proposition that is being pushed around, is saying that actually will skew it in favor of the people that are bringing most of the VAT. But also, the question I'd like to ask you is, there are some items, for instance, that bring about a lot of VAT. Alcohol. And some of these states have constantly showed their disregard or their not accepting or not liking the idea of alcohol because of religious inclinations. So when you see alcohol bring a very giant share into the VAT pot, and some people have showed their not liking this alcohol, is it also fair to share that money, that alcohol money, that is haram, with people that don't like this alcohol?
Well, for us in Aguilar, where I come from, there's this saying that the meat that you don't eat, you don't use your mouth, to share it. In terms of morality, of course, we'll say yes, that is right. But in the face of the law, the Constitution and the existing law on taxation, the law says share to everybody. But in view of the new law, yes, of course, it is important. And that is one of the issues before now that some of us in our individual capacities as lawmakers who have been supporting the bill is the fact that, yes, if there must be fairness, there must be justice. And justice requires that one should be given his own due. So the new tax reform bills before the parliament, like I have personally studied it in my own capacity, is something that is going to, bring about equity, is going to bring about fairness, is going to bring about justice. And again, beyond the issue of alcohol and what we bring and what we distribute, the tax reform bills, from what we have read in this document, intends to also address the issue of overtaxation. Taiwo explained yesterday the issue of overtaxation on commodities like food items, beverages, and a couple of other issues. And again, when government says an item is exempted from tax, there are still ways and manner that, at the end of the day, these things are being taxed. And that is why, in his words, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria are excited about these tax reform bills. I think the apprehension is just coming from some political leaders who have not taken their time to study this document like the 10th House of Representatives has done. If they do, they will fall in love with the document like many of us have done. It is a document that means well for the country. And if you also look at it, before now, states were very, very viable in terms of generating revenue, creative ideas, to also generate more money. I used to remember that before now, Benue State government used to have a house in Lagos that, they were generating money from. We used to have the Benue Investment and Property Company, in charge of investment. States were investing to also generate revenue. But today, our governors are so used to, going to bed, sleep for 28 days, on the 29th day, you call the Akata.
Mr. Agbese, my question was direct.
Yes.
Alcohol generates a very high VAT. Some states, because of the laws they practice, say alcohol is haram. We've seen stories of states damaging alcohol bottles and all of that. Should these states still benefit from the alcohol VAT? Should it be shared to them? That's my own bone of contention.
No, by virtue of the new tax law, it is about attribution and derivation. So what you don't eat, what you don't drink, and what you don't produce, what you don't consume, you will not generate VAT in your state. So if alcohol by the new tax rule is not taken to a certain state, that state will not have consumption, and there will be no VAT in that state. And what you do not contribute or you do not consume, you can't. Yes.
Well, you made a good point that perhaps some of these state governors who are opposing the 4 bills with regard to tax reform have not properly read the contents. You as the
no, they've not.
Eh? You said they don't.
You said they've not.
Yeah, you said that. Okay, but you are from Benue, representing an important federal constituency. Have you tried to engage your own governor to educate him, since you are well apprised of the details? Or you have not been talking to the governor of your own state? Because they say charity should start at home. Briefly.
Yes, what we are doing as a caucus, the leader of the caucus for Benue State is Right Honorable Dickson Taki. He has fixed a meeting for Thursday, 4 p.m. for us to further deliberate on the issues. We are going to generate some points from our deliberations on the tax review, and we are going to send an advisory note to our governor to guide him and to equally tell him that these bills are very, very good. They are in the best interest of our people. And by Saturday, we're also going to engage our constituents back home in another consultative assembly in town hall meeting to further engage them, to also get their views so that we prepare ourselves for the final debate on the floor of the House. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to do it in a very constructive way. And where we do, we will send a document to His Excellency, the Governor of Benue State, and we'll also share it with Nigerians so to also guide other state leaders in terms of their own direction.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much, Honorable Agbese, for joining us on The Morning Show.